Good evening and welcome to the regular City Council meeting for Tuesday, November 12th, 2019. This time, can we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Condit?
Here.
Councilmember DeRosset?
Here.
Vice Mayor Rhino?
Here.
Councilmember Klein?
Here.
And Mayor Vieira.
Here. Next, we will have the invocation by Pastor Joel Boone from the Big Valley Grace series, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, everyone. In Scripture, God gives the leaders a blessing that they're to bless the people with. And so I wanted to read that blessing because I know that it's your guys' heart as you serve so diligently that you would be a blessing to the people that you serve, and I want to pray for you. It says this: "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and to be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace." Father God, Lord, as we have our city leaders here before us, God, we ask that you would help them lead. God, that you would call them and equip them to this great task that you have for them, and that, Lord, they would receive blessing from you and they would give blessing as they lead. Lord, that it would be like your face shining on this city to bless, to make it prosperous. And so, Lord, we look to you as God, and we thank you for the blessing that you have. And so, Lord, the citizens here, we ask blessing for our leaders. Would you bless them and keep them? And we pray this in the name of Jesus Christ. And all God's family said, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. We have two presentations this evening. The first is certificates of appreciation for the participants of the city's Halloween trunk or treat event.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight we want to talk to you, share our great event we had on October 31st, our second annual Trunk or Treat. We had over 38 different organizations pass out candy. That was up from 23 the year before. We had 23 the year before. And it was a well-received event. We had a little over probably 2,000 people. The lines just never stopped. And we really owe this to our community members that man the booths. A lot of times some of the booths had 3 to 5 volunteers in them. So we had over almost 200 volunteers at our event, which is a huge success. And it was well received by the community. So tonight we want to thank our vendors and our community groups that were part of it. And I want to do a special thanks to Save Mart for giving us a very good price on the candy, very inexpensive, that we were able to have enough candy for all the kids that went through the event. So I'm going to pass the microphone up to Crystal to introduce the 38 different vendors or community groups that were involved.
Fiesta Auto Insurance, Steps Dance Art Center, Ceres Fire Department, Ontel Security, Big Valley Grace, Terry Reynolds, Harvest Presbyterian Church, Daystar Communications, First Impression Barbershop, Embroidery Plus, Richard Mora, Siri Swat, Erica McCann, Advance America, Farmers Insurance, Ceres Jobs Daughters, Serena Mendoza, Series PD Records, Christian Motorcycle Association, Project Yes, Bag Habits 31 Gifts, Persephone Guild, Series Women's Club, Body Soul Fitness, Penny Style Co., All Valley Pool and Spas, Series Youth Baseball, Magnolia Family Dental, Flawless Hair Salon, Grace Community Christian Church, Justin May, Save Mart, Modern Urgent Care, Series Unified School District Adult Education, Motherlode Mineral Society, Maria Rosas, Andrea Urana. Thank you so much for all our volunteers. Not everybody could be here today, but we thank them too.
Whoosh, there they go. Okay, next we have a proclamation declaring Saturday, November 30th, 2019 as Small Business Day in the City of Ceres. And I have a proclamation here I'll read. Small Business Saturday in the City of Ceres. Whereas the City of Ceres, California celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. According to the United States Small Business Administration, there are currently 28.8 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of all businesses with employees in the United States, are responsible for 63% of net new jobs created over the past 20 years. And whereas small businesses employ over 49% of all businesses with employees in the United States, and whereas 89% of consumers in the United States agree that small businesses contribute positively to the local community by supplying jobs and generating tax revenue. And whereas 87% of consumers in the United States agree that small businesses are critical to the overall economic health of the United States, and 93% of consumers in the United States agree that it is important for people to support the small businesses that they value in their community. And whereas Ceres, California supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our neighborhoods. And whereas advocacy groups as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed this Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. I think that's actually coming up. But now, therefore, I, Chris Vieira, Mayor of the Ceres, California, do hereby proclaim November 30th, 2019 as Small Business Saturday and urge the residents of our communities to support small businesses and merchants on the Small Business Saturday and throughout the year.
I would just like to thank the council and Mayor Vieira on behalf of the Ceres Chamber of Commerce for this honor. As we all know, shopping local is very important to our economy, so we appreciate it and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll move to citizens' communication to council on matters not included on the agenda. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in City Council meetings, adopted rules allow no more than 5 minutes for expression of non-agenda items. Matters under the jurisdiction of the City Council and not on the posted agenda may be addressed by the general public. However, California law prohibits the City Council from taking action on any matter which is not on the posted agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the City Council. Citizens are entitled to address the City Council on any agenda item subject to the 5-minute provision. At this time, I've got 3 speaker cards, and then after I go through these, I'll open it up to see if there's anyone else that would like to speak. The first is Steve Rank.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The issue I'm before you tonight has to do with parking on Nadine Avenue. I live at 1905 Nadine, which is a couple houses east of Stoneham. And of course, you're familiar that Kennedy School is on the corner opposite of my house. For the past 4 years, we've been putting up with horrific congestion from the employees from the school parking on the residential street. So let me give you a little history about it. A couple years ago, before Tom Channon retired, I vetted my frustration with him. And at the time, he assured me that they were building a 40 parking space on the campus, and that was specifically for employees. And that was slated to be done in July. It was done on time. However, again, still, none of the employees utilize the on-campus parking. They continue to park on the street. I've talked to the principal at the school probably 5 times, asking for their cooperation, over the past couple years. The last time I again asked for their cooperation, then they basically told me, we can't not make our employees park on the campus. They're free to park wherever they want. So the issue is that the parking on both sides of a residential street causes so much congestion. Frequently, they're unfortunately inconsiderate that they park blocking part of my driveway. I have people come to service my house, landscapers or whatever. They literally cannot park in front of my house. And my concern is a safety concern because of the congestion. I probably should have come here 4 years ago when it started to be an issue to address the issue, but what I would encourage and ask staff to do is look at drafting an ordinance restricting the parking on at least the residential side. And there's, obviously they have several different avenues they can go. They're restricted during school hours. They can restrict it by permit parking, etc. But I'm really asking the council for some relief for all the neighbors on the block. When you have guests come over, they have to park at least a block away and walk to your house. So I don't think the employees of the school would appreciate if we went and parked in front of their house and congested their block and caused considerable issues. So that's my deal. I think that it does create safety hazards. It creates congestion to the point where I'd be concerned with safety of pedestrians and et cetera. So,
Okay. Mr. Wells, is that something we can look into? I know in San Luis Obispo, they issue parking, I don't want to call them passes, but each resident is allowed a couple
We have
in
parking
front of their
permits
homes.
programs here as well. They're just there's certain neighborhoods where we have them. That particular neighborhood doesn't. But for his particular case, it would seem more appropriate to just restrict parking during certain hours because it's school hours. So that would be a simpler approach. But we can look into it and we'll get back to Mr. Wright.
Well, and we could do that, but then it does limit him parking there. So if there was perhaps some type of
The permit
parking pass
process-
that you could have access to 2 vehicles that park there and no one else could, that might be a better option for him, but
It's problematic to enforce and monitor. They're just proven to be very difficult issuing with changes in residence. Signage is proven to be the most cost-effective and easiest to both enforce and maintain.
okay.
But we'll look into it. There's
Yeah,
several
I
options
mean,
we can consider.
do we have your contact information? Can
sir, it's on the card.
I've got
You
Mr.
have
Wright.
it?
I have
Okay.
his contact.
Okay, so we'll have somebody reach out to you, and we can try a couple of different things and see if it helps out.
Right. Now, I know the city of Modesto had the same issue on MJC, and they finally came up with the north. And I think they went with the permit parking only. But I know there's several examples from other cities that have been enacted the same ordinances or similar ordinances restricting the traffic or parking.
Okay. I
Right.
think there's something we might be able to do for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. The next is Charlie Peters.
Yes, hello, Mr. Mayor and interested parties. My name is Charlie Peters, Clean Air Performance Professionals, a coalition of motors. And I have become aware that you, Mr. Mayor, are very interested in people's well-being and our environmental impacts in Ceres and in the state of California. I've heard a rumor that you're a board member of the Air District and that you spend a lot of time and effort trying to better serve the public and to do things that are responsible to improve health and environmental impacts in the state. I commend you for that. I have a couple of things that you may find interesting that are existing stuff that are in place that may be able to be enhanced somewhat and significantly improve our global warming impacts, possibly lower the price of gasoline to $2. I'm sure nobody in this place is interested in $2 gasoline. They probably all are wealthy, but $2 gasoline is a possibility, and the credits from accomplishing that might very well fix all our roads for free. So we think that a pilot study could be demonstrate that at the Caldecott Tunnel, showing that that can happen. I drove here today in a PZEV car, partial zero emissions vehicle, that produces less than 80% of an identical car, brand new. So if you park that brand new car in my driveway, in my garage at home, it was not a PZEV and did not meet the PZEV standards. And I drive my car, a PZEV, 30 miles one way to work and back. The car that would pollute the least is the one that I drove to work, producing much more. The car in the garage would produce much more pollution than the one that I drove. So eliminating cars off the road may not be the whole answer, and we have several things like that we think could significantly improve our ability to improve global warming gases, and we would very much appreciate your attention to these kinds of things to even improve your huge efforts to date and make it a better economically environmental community in the future. Thank you.
This time, I don't have any more speaker cards. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council on a non-agenda item?
Gene Yakeley Series. I want to commend the police department and code enforcement on the increase of some of the administrative citations they've put out, in, especially on the noise side of things. But we got a problem with code enforcement. They're doing a good job where they've increased a lot of things that weren't in the past. That's a plus. But there's a problem. I contacted when they used to have, after Patty Malloy with code enforcement, she retired, a new young lady took her place. And I was going in there and giving her information on, garbage here, garbage there, or whatever, and other issues. And eventually she told me I couldn't come in anymore, that I would have to do it strictly online. Okay, so I commenced to do what she said I should do and entered items online through the Ceres website on just all kinds of different things. But one day I was told, not by her, but by another employee with the city, that I was not to enter anything on Saturdays, that I should call the police department dispatch Saturdays and Sundays, and if I have any issues, to bring those up to the police department. Well, I thought that was kind of strange, because here we are paying somebody Monday through Friday, and I guess she's there, but maybe we need her to work on Saturdays and Sundays, because I don't think that we should be calling and wasting dispatches' time, because usually they got other issues going on, and you can hear them. You know, they go, oh, we got to put you on hold. You know, is this emergency? And of course, that's probably protocol to ask if it's an emergency. And of course, you know, you say no. And the time factor isn't an issue either. It's just that I feel that you know, certain departments get overburdened with other people's problems, and it shouldn't be the police department's problem to take care of code enforcement on the weekends. And who's handling on code enforcement issues on Sundays? You know, they don't have anybody on Sundays, so we're just banging our head against the wall again and getting nowhere. What little increase we've had is great, you know. Now we have somebody on Saturday, but there's still people we need on Sunday too. So my issue is that we need to get organized somehow to where we can let code enforcement, what few people have an issue with or issues, so code enforcement can find out what the citizens want. You know, and there's not enough. I was complaining, of course, and some of the things continue. But we need to eliminate that police department issue to where they're not bothered in dispatch with, you know, frivolous calls and stuff. All right, thank you. Oh, wait a minute. And one more thing. I'd like to know from the city attorney what's happened with that sidewalk vendors law. I think you told me last time that it was...
We're working it in our municipal code update.
But it's finished now?
No.
Oh, I thought you said last meeting.
It will be part of the municipal code review for Title V.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. John Warren, City of Ceres. I think I just had a senior moment. Code enforcement. Weekends. I understand that there's at least one code enforcement person assigned to Saturdays, but there's nobody on Sundays. And I believe that there are 3 people that take care of these duties from the police department and the code enforcement employees. Am I correct? There's 3? We have, but there's like, Sergeant,
There's 2 code enforcement officers.
2
There's
officers?
a sergeant who supervises those 2 but the sergeant also has other duties, and a secretary. So effectively 3.5 FTEs, or full-time equivalent employees.
So there's the sergeant and then there's 2 enforcement people, correct? Okay, for a total of 3 that actually go out and take care of business when it's necessary.
Again, the sergeant has other duties. He's not full-time.
I understand that. Okay. My suggestion would be the rotation of days worked is that if one person worked Monday through Friday and with the weekends off, and then another person worked Tuesday through Saturday with like Sunday and Monday off, and then the third person worked Wednesday through Sunday. So that way on Friday and Saturday, which are our really 2 busiest days for service in the city for some code enforcement problems, there would be at least 2 people working on the weekend days, and then on Sunday there would be 1 person working, and then of course Monday through Friday there would be sometimes 3 people working on the various days, and that way we'd have coverage through the weekends when calls for service occur. So it's a suggestion that maybe that's something that could be viewed as a possibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council on a non-agenda item?
Don Donaldson, we missed last night, and we have veterans in here, and 22 veterans committed suicide today. If you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to stand for a minute and show respect to the people in the armed forces of the United States of America.
Sure.
Thank you. And everybody knows that I'm a veteran. And after Thanksgiving, we started basketball up until Good Friday. Everybody that was involved with the MOU, I'd like to thank them, because I got out after 34 years. I got out. And you just don't know how much time I have with my grandkids going to Louisiana and going to the ballparks and watching them play. So if you was one of them people that was involved with the MOU, I really appreciate it, because now I don't have to handle it. And I've got a couple of kids right here behind me, Gary, and it is the last of the kids that played in the program. And look at them now. I mean, and I ran into Mike's daughter and son, and they was talking about it today, the other day, whenever I seen them at the barber shop and at Carol Fowler School. So I'm happy that I did it. I'm happy that I went in the military, but I'm happy that it's over. And now I can enjoy my life with my kids. And they also had 7 girls coaches in varsity in the last 6 years. So I just wanted to bring that up too. So we did help the kids. Thank you.
Mayor, council, staff, good evening. Joe Spanny, Series Firefighters, Local 3636. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on some of the stuff that we've been participating in over the last 2 months or so. In October, we did our annual Fill the Boot for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. We've been doing that for close to 20 years. This year, we raised our highest total that we've ever raised, $17,802. That's $100 higher than our previous best. All of that money goes straight to the MDA, and that's going to fund research, medical care, medical equipment, and specialized summer camps that they do for children that are afflicted with muscular dystrophy diseases. We also did our Pink October stuff for breast cancer awareness. That was roughly $1,000 that we're going to end up donating to the Alum Cancer Endowment, part of the hospital down in Turlock. What that's going to do is fund some reduced cost or free mammograms, as well as mentoring programs for people who are diagnosed with cancers. One of the other things we did this year that was new for that was our Frappuccino with a Firefighter. It was selling of our pink t-shirts, and we had information from breast cancer and other cancers that are out there. Part of the American Cancer Society and the Alum Endowment had that information available for us, for anybody that came in. Worked well with the Starbucks staff, and I think it brought a lot of exposure to not only the program of our pink t-shirts that we sell to raise money, but breast cancer awareness overall. The last thing that we have going on this month for the month of November is it's for Men's Health. We designed our shirts. I think you guys have seen it, Movember. And what it is our firefighters, some of them are growing mustaches that they usually don't grow, and it's to bring awareness for men's health, specifically prostate cancer and mental health issues. And the money for that, we're going to donate to, typically we've been doing it to a firefighter in need. We haven't identified who it is we're going to be giving it to this year within kind of the Tri-County area between us, Merced, and San Joaquin counties. But if you guys have any questions that I can answer for you.
Any questions?
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Briefly, please.
Briefly, IRS is after me getting rid of 19 uniforms for the kids. What are you going to do with all them uniforms? What are you going to do with all them basketballs and everything else? So I've got a great old big barbecue that I'm going to sell it. It has to be nonprofit, and whoever buys it gets all that stuff. Okay? Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on. We have no appointments to boards and commissions this evening. Conflict of interest declaration. Is there anyone on the council that would like to declare a conflict of interest on any of the 12 consent calendar items or one discussion item? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by a single motion unless otherwise requested by an individual council member or the public for special consideration. Otherwise, the recommendation of staff will be accepted and acted upon by roll call vote. This time, is there anyone on the council that would like a consent calendar pulled for further discussion?
Number 9.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like an item pulled other than item 9? Okay, I'll bring it back to the council for direction on the other items.
Move to approve 1, 2, 3A, 4, 5A, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, and 12.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Condit?
Aye.
Councilmember DeRosset?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhino?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
And Mayor Vieira.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, item number 9, resolution number 2019-115, authorizing the first responder basic life support agreement with Mountain Valley EMS. Councilmember Klein?
I just have some questions on the contract. As I read the contract, and we're going to go into page 12 of the contract, item number D, the contractor shall pay liquidation damages to the agency for each and every month that the contractor fails to obtain a response time compliance of at least 90% with each response. My question is, we're doing a service for Mountain Valley Ambulance Service, AMR, and, you know, reading this thing, we're getting $17 per call, but yet if we don't hit response times because we're considered the contractor, if you don't hit the response times, they can charge us $350 if we don't hit the 90% or more.
Yes. Yes. Test. Yeah, they can fine us for if we are behind in the response. As I stated in my report, we're far below that standard. Our average, taking our highs and lows for our 3 different response zones, we're at 4 minutes and 47 seconds. So it is highly unlikely that we will receive that fine if we are behind 90% of the time.
But I understand that, but we're doing a service, we're helping them out, and yet if just by chance, because of other circumstances, we go below that, we pay a fine. And then if you look at E and F, it says, furthermore, contractor shall pay liquidation damage to the agency of $25 for each incident which a contractor's crew fails to report on scene. So we're already performing a service, okay? They're trying to entice us, you know, to do a little bit more, the way I read it, but yet if we fail at any part of this, we're going to get fined. Why is that even in the contract?
I have a representative from Mountain Valley EMS that could probably explain that a little better than I can, if you wouldn't mind. Lance Doyle.
Hello, members of the council. I'm the executive director for Mountain Valley EMS Agency. That contract was written, it's a standard agreement across all of our fire agencies, anything from volunteer fire through advanced life support fire. And those are in place because now the fire departments are a part of the response plan, and we need to make sure we have accountability if we're going to build them into the response plan to the citizens of the county.
Okay, but you're going to pay us $17 a call, but if you look at F in here, if we fail to hit, you're going to pay we're going to pay liquidation damages of $25?
Yes, sir. That does not happen very often, however.
But if it doesn't happen very often and ours is below that, my question is, why do we even end the contract? Because we've been doing this service since they were a volunteer fire department. You know, the state, the EMTs went on, and we do the, first responders. Now all of a sudden, we're going to enter into a contract, with possibly, let's say, get $60,000 a year, but there's that fine line that something can happen, because even if you read in here further, that if we don't respond and you have mutual aid do it, it's from when mutual aid starts responding, the time starts. I mean,
It's not just one call. They'll recognize that threshold of
I-
90%.
I know, I said the 90%.
Right.
I did say the 90% in here.
If we didn't have utmost confidence in our ability to deliver on this, we wouldn't be recommending signing this agreement. But our confidence demonstrated over years of experience has got us to this point. Also recognize the contract with AMR that has been executed and will be effective in January is fundamentally different now than it has been in the past. There is a much different structure in place that allows this agreement to now be viable. Without that change structure, this agreement's not viable. But that structure now provides teeth on all aspects of it from all parties involved, Mountain Valley EMS, AMR, Stanislaus County, all the fire agencies. We're all now kind of hooked together to deliver the best service possible. And yes, there are some hammers in there, but there's a lot more carrots than sticks with the way the structure of this agreement is the best way to put it. There's money coming back and forth to allow, if we need it, the stick is there from all sides, but the carrots make it much more palatable for all of the fire agencies to get rewarded, in essence, for the service that we've been providing for many, many years.
Okay, then why isn't there a carrot out there that if we maintain a service level of, less than 5 minutes, that our $17 goes up?
The system was built around a 7-minute response time from fire in the urban areas. That's just how the system was built.
So,
And the carrot is the compensation, the per call for all of the calls that are
$17, that's
times
going
every
to
call.
reimburse the fuel and the diesel?
It's $17 for every call, and the potential penalty is $350 in one compliance period, which would be a month. The reimbursement per month is significantly more than that. You would never be in a position that you were upside down in a given month.
Okay. No further questions.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this item? Okay, I'll bring it back to the council. Sorry.
I have a question. $17 per call is paid from who to who?
Mountain Valley Ambulance Service, their contract, correct me if I'm wrong,
Mountain Valley
pays
EMS.
it to the city of Ceres on EMS calls only. Not on fire calls, just EMS calls.
And a large majority of the calls are
EMS.
calls, okay, that the fire department responds to as first responders.
Correct.
So the $17 for each of those calls. How many approximately calls is there in a year?
Approximately 3,800 was last year, so rough number would be $60,000 a year.
That comes from the ambulance company to the city.
Correct.
And that money goes where?
General fund.
General fund, okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll bring it back to the council for further discussion or direction.
I'll move to adopt Resolution 2019-115.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Condit?
Aye.
Councilmember DeRossett?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhino?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
And Mayor Vieira.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we have no unfinished business this evening, no public hearing, and no new business, so we have one discussion item, Beautification Committee discussion. Mr. Wells?
Thank you, Mayor. As indicated in the staff report, Councilmember Condit had requested this item to be reconsidered after a previous discussion earlier this year. Councilmember Condit had included an outline of the program, and that's included in the packet as well. And I'll turn it over to council for further discussion.
Well, as many of you are aware, I brought this up back in February. I was encouraged by a few concerned citizens in our community to bring this back up, and so I did. I want to thank the council for hearing this recommendation again. And this committee is not the end-all be-all in solving our code enforcement issues. This is simply a start and something we can improve on as a community. I do believe it increases civic engagement, and I do believe it promotes beautification. And I think both of those are positives for our community. And I appreciate the discussion here tonight, and I want to thank you for hearing it again.
Councilmember Klein?
You know, I would like to commend Councilmember Condit. I know when you brought this up before, I'd asked for some kind of outline or direction or what you're looking for. I want to commend you because you did bring back something now this time that has an outline, what your proposal is, and it's a start in the right direction.
Thank you.
So I do want to commend you for bringing that back in an outline.
Thank you. I would be remiss without mentioning former Mayor Louis Arallo helped me kind of craft this outline, and I would like to thank him for his assistance.
Any other comments? I just had a couple of comments. Mr. Walls, is the proposal that Councilmember kind of put together, is that the framework for it, or is that something that we can have a discussion? Because there are parts of it I like, but then other things I might like to make some suggestions on.
This is scheduled a discussion item. We didn't, because
Okay.
we wanted to make sure it was refined and the council has something that you would be able to take action on. So discussion item with the outline that Councilmember Condit provided, and it's a blank slate of direction for staff on how the council would like to proceed.
Well, I know when this first came up, I was one that wasn't supportive of it because I know we were engaged in some discussion with Big Valley Grace here, and I know that they had indicated wanting to get actively involved in the community, and then with further discussions with former mayor and Senator Cannella and others, there was some interest, and so I think if structured the right way, that this could be something that would be a benefit to the city. One of the things that I would like to see of the committee, and I know I've mentioned it over the years a number of times when it comes to code enforcement, that how can we be more efficient in what we're doing, and whether that means we give a code enforcement person an iPad with everybody's address, and as they're driving through the neighborhood, if they see an issue, they can click on the address and they can click on the issue and bring it back and download that information, and if a letter or something needs to go out, it can be. And I know maybe that's an oversimplification, but I would like to see the committee be something that is visionary, provides recommendations to the council, maybe looks at best practices for other cities, and not necessarily just a session where everybody gets together and complains about how bad everything looks, and there's a trash pile over here, go pick it up, and go over there and pick that up. I think there needs to be some vision in it, and that's what I would like to see. The other thing that, and I don't know if it was necessarily an intent or not, but there was a statement in here under the establishment that the committee needs to be comprised of citizens residing within the city limits of Ceres. And I know in discussions with Mr. Parson that he had some interest in this, and unfortunately, if we leave something like that in there, it doesn't allow him to take part because he's not within the city limits. And I think it would be hard-pressed for anybody in this room to say that there isn't somebody that does more for this community than Mr. Parsons does. So I would not want to exclude him if he had an interest in taking part in this committee, and I believe he does because I have heard from him. So those are just a couple of my comments. Unless anyone has any more, I'll open it up to the audience.
And I'm completely open to those suggestions. I would just put that comment in there for those applying. It will be an open public meeting, so whether Mr. Parsons was appointed or not, he would be able to attend the meeting and be a part of the discussion. But I'm totally open for any sort of changes. I'm very flexible on it. My only kind of caveat is that code enforcement do attend these meetings. That's really my only kind of definite position. So, thank you.
Mayor, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Would it be the direction that you're looking for is maybe our sphere of influence?
Perhaps
The general
that's a
plan?
better, I'm assuming his area is in the sphere of influence, but yeah, I would think that we'd need to open it up to that, I would think.
Okay.
Okay, at this time, I'll open it up to the public. I did have one speaker card. Senator Cannella, sitting patiently back there.
Citizen Cannella. Council, Mayor, my name is Anthony Cannella, I live at 704 Sarah Therese Way, and I am very encouraged by this proposal. I think that blight is a problem in Ceres. I don't think it's unique to Ceres. I think that this is a societal problem, but I do think there are things that we can do better. And I align myself with the mayor's comments. I think it could be expanded. I know I talked to Councilmember Condit as well, and thank you for your leadership on this, in that it's not unusual for a city or a county or a state to have these ad hoc committees, a blue ribbon commission, if you will, that digs into particular issues and comes up with suggestions, and then obviously it's the council's decision whether you accept those recommendations or not. I know the city manager rightfully was concerned this commission would turn into a group of people telling code enforcement what to do. That's obviously inappropriate. It's inappropriate for you to tell staff what to do, and it's certainly inappropriate for citizens to tell staff what to do. All things work through the city manager. And so if you do form this commission with the expanded role of coming up with suggestions, I would like to apply, and I assure you it would never turn into a situation where I would direct staff to do something, because that's totally inappropriate. So, but I do think there are a lot of people that care about the city. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Ceres, and I care, and I'm concerned about the way the city looks, and I think it affects everybody. I think it affects our way of life. I think it affects our property values, and I think that there are cities that have maybe been able to crack the code a little bit, and I think if you select this commission, I would give them that charge to go out and see what's being done, what are some suggestions, and then, again, present that to the council. So I hope you will expand this, and I hope at the end of the day you will approve it. So thank you.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I just wanted to say I'm also in support of the Beautification Committee. I mean, anything that has beautification in the title can't be all bad, right? So I just wanted to point out that a couple weeks ago, my sister came to visit from Virginia. She's got a beautiful home on a bay. And you know how sometimes you get so used to seeing something that you stop seeing it? And that's kind of happened to me until my sister came to visit. You know, I drive by the same neighborhoods, go to the same office, same house, and I sort of had a blind eye to a lot of things that were happening around Ceres until she came to visit, and I started to see the city through her eyes. Now, she never said anything, but as I was looking around town, from her perspective, I have to admit, I was a little bit embarrassed because we had a lot of, at the time, this was in September, a lot of piles of things around town. There was a lot of yards need to be worked on. You know, it was September, so it was end of summer, a lot of dead grass. And it really opened my eyes to the fact that we do need something in Ceres, a committee, preferably citizens, to get together and come up with ideas. I want to also thank Councilman Condit for putting together a program, and I love what Citizen Cannella said about working with the code enforcement. I think that working with them together definitely is the best option for the city. So I just wanted to show my support in this program as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And they do have a term for that. It's called sensory adaptation, where you actually don't see what's actually going on around you. So.
Good evening, Alyssa Long, Ceres resident. I just want to thank Councilmember Condit for coming to me with this proposal because I was one of the citizens complaining. Although I wasn't necessarily complaining about the things that were happening in the city. So as most of you guys know, my family has been here for over 100 years. We're farmers. And there were two stories that I kind of wanted to quickly share with you. One of them was, a long time ago, somebody dumped something on our ranch. My grandpa, said Long, as many of you know, found a way to find who this person was, and he directed this person to come and pick it up. And the person did. And there was a lot of probably really raunchy jokes in between, but he got there. Now, speed it up to nowadays, and you can drive down the road, and there are mattresses and sofas and dishwashers and love seats, and more recently, a boat, which, if you don't know, cannot be picked up by the dump because it is considered an abandoned vehicle. Now, the difference between calling the dump and calling sheriff's office is a couple weeks. So the sheriff's office had to be called for an abandoned vehicle. Now, I know this has nothing to do with anything in the city limits, except that in the sphere of influence, it does matter quite a bit. So even though we may not live within the city limits, it should matter to you because they're still citizens of Ceres. Now, I did have a few questions, such as, what is the legal aspect? What happens to those people who do get caught dumping? Because there's been a few times where the farmers do research and they find out who dumps, but for some reason they always have a reason about how their trash ended up on our farms. And they never get fined. No matter how many signs you put out, they never get fined, they never face jail time, they never face a consequence, but yet every single time somebody dumps, a farmer has to call it in, a farmer has to pick it up, a farmer has to work around it. I also want to know, how are we going to encourage citizen participation? Because kind of like what was previously said, a lot of people almost are blind to it now because it's become the norm, which I think is quite appalling. Also, how quickly will things be picked up? You might say, oh, hey, something's going on over here, but is it going to be 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months? With your interest in having Mr. Parsons involved, I think you guys do need to start teaming up with the county and making it your sphere of influence, not just within the city grounds, because farmers, agriculture has been dealing with this kind of dumping for decades. So I guess in a not so welcoming term, welcome to the club. Also, I'm glad that it is great that maybe there should be an agricultural representative or two in addition to in-city citizens. So that's what I've got for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Don, well, Mr. Conda didn't come over to my house. I got a garbage can in front of my wife's car. I got a trailer. I got a barbecue. I got 2 motor homes. I got 3 boats and 3 properties. But all the people around me, I roofed their house, I put gutter on their house, and I put new air conditioners on their house. And I do the same to mine. My wife's job was to mow the lawn, and she's not doing that anymore because she had cancer. So I guess I'm going to have to just hire a yard keeper. My wife never worked. That was her job. It was her job to keep the swimming pool clean. She don't do that anymore. I'm going to have to break down and say, hey, I got to get somebody. My lawnmower didn't work. Pretty soon I've got 5 lawnmowers. People bring them over to me.
Don, can I ask you, we're talking about the formation of a beautification committee. So are you going to
You want me to say
or
about
not supportive, or
what I think of it?
Yeah, that's what we'd like.
Well, it's just like going down and getting your driver's license. A stop sign means to stop. Everybody has to stop. If you're going to say the garbage can's got to be in the back, everybody's garbage can. And I'll go along with it.
That's a separate issue. The issue is do you believe in us forming a beautification committee or not? We'll get to the details later, but the discussion is, do you believe there should be a committee or not whether everybody should be enforced or not. That's a whole separate issue.
That's a separate issue?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, everybody should be doing that now anyway.
Because one thing that I'm going over to Pine Street Bridge today, looking up there at that water tower and seeing that flag,
That's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. That flag on top of that water tower, I would be ashamed of. And it doesn't take much paint to paint over it or to go down. There's a place right down the street that you can get a GLG and climb up there and paint that thing. That's ugly. Thank you.
Thank you. So you didn't answer my question. Are you supportive or not supportive?
Okay.
Okay.
But make it for everybody. If he's going to move his garbage can and you have to, then I will too.
Okay. All right. At this time, anyone else? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want the committee to know that we discussed this before, and I'm glad it's being revisited. I do believe it's something that our community needs. And committee members at large would probably incorporate some of the Spear folks that should belong to the committee if they want to participate. So I think some consideration should be like have a committee member at large that doesn't necessarily have to be a citizen of the city of Sirius. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, since this is a discussion item, might I make a recommendation that Mr. Wells open up, or let me ask the council, do we want to appoint, or do we want to open it up for individuals to submit their names? And then ultimately, I think it would be nice to have them craft, their goals and objectives and present them to us as opposed to us imposing our will onto them. So at this point, do we want to take applications in, or do we want to come, as Mr. Condit had, with our own recommendations? It doesn't matter to me. It just whatever.
We take applications in. I say we take applications in. I think that would be the best way to go. And I agree in regards to them, the people that are part of that committee, to actually come up with the things. I know when Councilwoman Rhino and I were on the TOT, that we kind of were on it, and the other people kind of jumped in and joined in, and then it was their eyes and their ideas on how that would be ran. So,
how about the issue of at least getting one representative from each district? I think that's probably important.
Yeah, one, not two.
At least one. So,
but we need to encourage them to. Part of my concern, and reason I didn't like it to begin with, because to have two people to go out there. I mean, if you guys recognize, we had an election the other day, and we only had one person in our district that was on the ballot. So it's not like people are going to be banging down the doors to really want to maybe jump in. All you people that are here tonight have those connections with people, and maybe can reach out to them, let alone, not to say that the council members won't, but I think it also has to be lean on your guys' shoulders in regards to helping us do that. Because when you only have one candidate for two different districts running for a school board seat, that's not very good. But anyways.
So why don't we make this recommendation, if everybody's okay with it, is that, Mr. Wells, you can open it up and anyone can contact you to see about the committee, and then let's see what kind of interest we get. And anyone on the council that has individuals that they have talked to that would like to be on should direct them to you to complete the paperwork to.
So procedurally, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, the formation of the ad hoc committee, the council actually needs to take action on the formation of the ad hoc committee first, and then we could take applications. So this was a discussion
Okay,
item.
so this is just a discussion item. You have to
Correct.
bring it back to us.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, wanted to make sure that.
Well, then you can put the nuts and bolts in that and let us know how it would
So we're
work.
looking for.
And we can
direction.
critique it if
So
it doesn't
are there
work.
3 council members are in favor of the formation of the beautification committee?
Yeah.
Are all?
Yes.
I think we all are.
Okay. And so then we'll bring back an action item for the formation of the ad hoc committee with recommendations on the selection criteria based on the conversation we've heard this evening. We'll build that into the process, and then you can change or address that however.
Okay. How soon do you think you'll bring that back?
The November 25th meeting is going to be pretty heavy with the 2 public hearings for the municipal code. So if acceptable, we recommend bringing it back on the December 9th meeting.
Okay.
That would be a little easier because that meeting on the 25th is going to be long with those 2 public hearings. So if that's acceptable, we could bring it back on the 9th.
Okay. Sounds great. Okay. With that, we will move on to council member referrals. Is there anyone on the council that would like to have an item placed on a future agenda? Nope. Okay. Reports. Councilmember Klein?
I have nothing.
Vice Mayor Rhino?
No.
Councilmember Drazik?
Yes, just I'll be holding my office hours during the old hours between 12 and 2 here at the community center on Saturdays. So hope to see you out there.
Okay. I have nothing to report, so anything finance? Nothing? Okay. Mr. Wells?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a reminder on your calendars for Thursday evening, there's a celebration for Stanislaus Farm Supply, celebrating 70 years in business. So that's a pretty significant milestone being celebrated in our community. And then also, as I mentioned, the Immunicode on the 11/25 meeting will be 2 public hearings, one for the adoption of Titles 6, which is the waste wheeler conversation, Title 8, which is animals, and then Title 13, which is the water and sewer with the provisions we talked about last time. That will be for adoption. And then the first public hearing taking public comment on Titles 9, 10, and 19, which is basically the nuisance vehicles and then the code enforcement provisions.
Good. Mr. Westbrook?
Just wanted to mention that the Chamber of Commerce is doing their 12 Days of Christmas raffle again, where they give away some gift cards and gift baskets from local merchants. I believe their drawing is in early December, so if you want tickets, contact the Chamber office.
Daniel? Nothing? Mr. Collins?
Just wanted to give you guys an update on our hiring process. We are 1 officer away from the 52 that we are authorized, and our 10th full-time dispatcher started today, but we still have 1 shortage due to an illness. So we have 9 working dispatchers, but we're close to being fully staffed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Weiss?
Good evening again. As you know, Chief Serpa was strike team leader for a strike team that went to the Kincaid fire. He's back home. Everything went well. Our engine was available at the whole time during the fire, but it was never dispatched. I think they were keeping us in reserve in case something else broke in the state. Also last week was the 1-year anniversary of the Camp Fire. Myself and Chief Serpa we took a strike team up there the first day of that fire. We are conducting promotional testing. We started last week with our engineers. Tomorrow will be our captain's test, and Thursday will be our battalion chief's test. We anticipate 2 possible retirements next March or April, so we're trying to be prepared for that. Unfortunately, we were given notice by one of our newer firefighters that he's going to be leaving us, so that will create a vacancy in the firefighter rank that we'll need to fill. Also, our apparatus is still on schedule for January. Our apparatus committee will be headed to South Dakota at the end of the month for midpoint inspection. That's where they go back there and they inspect the apparatus, make sure they're being built to our specifications and our standards that we've set. Each apparatus is a custom-built piece of equipment, so it's built for our specifications. Also, I just wanted to commend our firefighters on their fundraising efforts. They've been putting a lot of work into these efforts lately, as you can see by Captain Spanny. I know we were sold out, or they were sold out of their T-shirts within the first week, and we had lots of people coming to the fire station looking for more T-shirts. So I just wanted to commend our firefighters on their fundraising efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy? Nothing. All right. At this time, we will adjourn to our next regularly scheduled meeting, which will be on Monday, November 25th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Mary, my son's signing his national letter of intent for
Oh, good.
Santa Clara.